I would like to introduce you to one of the successful heads of an Aboriginal Tourism Association in Canada, in British Columbia, Canada. Keith Henry is the chairman of that organization, the CEO, and I might say that they've become what I consider a model for Indigenous Tourism Association collaboration and success. And I'll let you hear from Keith about what they do and how they do it. So here he is, Keith Henry.
So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for being here, and it's a real honor to be here today. Thank you, Ben and Winta and everyone that's been pulling this together. I seem a little bit off today. I'm tired. I still think it's 3:30 in the morning where I'm from, and I haven't quite adjusted yet, so I seem to lose my train of thought once in a while. Just bear with me, because I still think I should be asleep right now. The other thing, too, is we left Vancouver from this weather thinking Lucerne was going to be beautiful. Someone misled us. It's just like Vancouver here. So we didn't escape very far. So I thought I would start by showing a little bit about, we've heard a lot about at this conference leading up here today from the Adventure Tourism World Summit about the storytelling and the vignettes and that. And I thought I would showcase one of the ways we help market and promote Aboriginal tourism to just give you a sense of some of the ways we're doing things, and I'll go into some other matters.
To share a celebration teaches other cultures that the First Nations culture is alive and well. That tradition has been passed from generation to generation.
It helps us build that bridge between families and the community. You build a bond.
We celebrate the fact that we're teaching the rest of the world what Native culture is about. It's our little community coming together to produce something that's just exceptional. And at the same time, celebrate the Aboriginal culture in a whole.
The more that we can bring each other together, the more we can accept each other. And our celebrations are a great way to do that.
There's people from all walks of life that come anxious to believe. It just makes my heart swell. We have opened our doors to the world. We raise our hands.
So what we were trying to get across, and hope you got a sense of that, is that emotional draw of what makes us different. It's not just about tourism, about visiting a destination. It's about coming away feeling that you've really learned about the people and a little bit about the history and the land and some of the customs and traditions. And when I heard some of the concepts over this forum over the last few days, or the World Summit piece, there was a lot of discussion around culture and authenticity. What I'd like to do, hopefully, in some of my presentations, is give you a spin on how we view it, because we're an Aboriginal organization doing it with our own Aboriginal communities, away from government, away from others, traditional ways that we've seen marketing organizations operate. So, just a little bit about who we are, our mission and vision, some background. Where are we today in terms of tourism in British Columbia? Who are our visitors? And what is required? Some of this I use with some of our products, and how do we help train our organizations? So our mission at AtBC is straightforward. It's to provide training and awareness. We do product development and marketing. And sounds very similar to what you might hear in a destination marketing organization, but we are our own Aboriginal organization, mandated by our own Aboriginal leadership to do it province-wide. And so we don't get destination marketing funding. We have very different streams of funding that come in. So the bit of the precarious spot we're always in is we're at the whims of government. When I listen to the UNWTO representative talk about whims of tourism and where that's at, we face that reality in terms of what governments want to do with Aboriginal communities in British Columbia. And it's a story we hear across our country as well. And we do this in order to develop a sustainable, authentic Aboriginal cultural tourism industry. And when we talk about authenticity, it's in the sense of, are you really getting an authentic experience from the community and the lands you're in? Or are you just getting we often use the example, totem poles made in China, which, no offense to our friends in China, but we don't want visitors to purchase these products. You can't change it, but what you can do is educate the consumers, what we've been continuing to try and do. So our vision, of course, is a prosperous and respectful Aboriginal cultural and tourism industry, sharing authentic products that exceed visitor expectations. We continue to work with our community the communities, tribal councils, leadership groups, dev officers. We don't expect people to just, we want to create a world-class destination. And today we've got a number of destinations that are world-class visitor experiences. We've got about 80 businesses that we consider world-class, right from cultural centers, restaurants, you name it, and various adventure tourism experiences, jet boat adventures, kayaking, you name it. So we've tried to continue to create that. And we push ourselves as an industry to do it better than the non-Aboriginal community, no offense to non-Aboriginal people. Because we think in our world it's often an excuse to maybe not do it as good. We hear it within our own people sometimes. And we do this through a variety of ways. We do lots of stakeholder forums. We've created a menu of training programs that are Aboriginalized to help people understand how to compete in tourism. AtBC itself formed in 1996. We're a society based on a stakeholder model. We've had the fortune of getting government funding to what we had, the blueprint strategy. And in essence, what that did was a combined investment by provincial and federal governments to do training and awareness, product development, and marketing. So we've done things sort of, I guess, in concert under those three pillars. And it just completed as of March 31st, 2011. And I'll talk about what were the results of some of that. So those of you that don't maybe know British Columbia, that's just a quick outline of our geography. It's a very large province, very diverse. These are sort of the way we've broken on how we plan. We have 6 regions, and it's consistent with the tourism regions. And we do regional approaches. So what might work for Northern BC might not always work, or might not work for Vancouver Island. So we've tried to really tailor our training and marketing planning around the needs of these regions. One of the challenges we have is amongst the Aboriginal communities, they're very diverse. A lot of visitors think that we're all homogenous. Those of us, and it may be true for some parts of Canada, but there's mostly Cree or mostly Dene or mostly Inuit. In British Columbia, it's one of the most diverse Aboriginal areas, I believe, in Canada. We've got 36 different nations within British Columbia that are large nations. And they have had historical warring. They've had all sorts of stuff that today we continue to work our way through and work on how we can get tourism developed in their areas. We've got a board of industry representatives, all Aboriginal. They've been involved in Aboriginal tourism. We've prided ourselves on using our Aboriginal leadership that has been involved in tourism to continue to lead that organization. And myself as CEO, I have a staff of about 9 people or so. You can see here, so we're not a large team, and we're trying to do a lot, as many of you are, I'm sure, with limited resources. So where are we today? Well, tourism visits for us have increased by 97% between 2006 and 2010. We can't keep up with the demand right now in British Columbia. And one of the reasons was, I'm sure many of you saw the Winter Olympics in 2010. There was a strong Aboriginal theme. That's continued to lead this interest in Aboriginal tourism in British Columbia substantially. So we've doubled in those years. Our market continues to be strong with 1 in 4 visitors to BC. So in British Columbia, tourism is worth about $14 billion a year. It's a very large, it's one of the largest sectors in our economy. And Aboriginal tourism, hypothetically, is 1 in 4. We're certainly not there, we can't meet the demand. So we're in a good spot, and that's increased from about 1 in 7 in 2005. Our revenues have increased to about, our industry itself, our business community is about 42 million a year. So it's a large driver for our community. And it's the fastest growing tourism sector, and what consumers want is a authentic experience. So a little bit about, we do a lot of, I won't get into too much, as I'm sure you can all be bored with stats and everywhere you go. But what I will say about this is, I'm just trying to show, when we put information out, it's because we've done our own research. We work with other destinations, work with visitor centers, we work with our businesses. And what we try to get is the most accurate information so our business community can make informed business decisions about what consumers want. And so our incidence rate levels have increased over those years, and you can see how it's gone up. You see the BC market has been our largest market to support our industry. So right in our backyard has been our best market. You see US has been another strong market, and others, various international destinations has been gone up moderately. Visitor volumes. So in 2006, we had about 1.8 million visitors looking for an authentic Aboriginal experience. So our challenge is, British Columbia only has a few key gateways, especially for international travelers. They come in through Vancouver. If we don't find a way to get them, if I can say that term, I know you've been conscious listening to all that, encourage them in a positive way. But we have a real challenge about we don't want them to just go and see the totem poles in Stanley Park and take a picture. What we want them to do is really experience, whether it's cuisine or other ways to get involved in tourism. Hopefully, if they're not coming this time to Canada or to British Columbia for an authentic experience, maybe we'll inspire them that they'll want to come back in the following summer. And you'll see how much it's increased over. So 2011, this past summer, we're just doing some research now with our business community. So we anticipated about 3.7 million visitors looking for Aboriginal experiences. We certainly know we can't meet all that demand, but it appears that that's pretty much right on target. We also estimated this 2011, you can see the growth from 2006. This is our business community from 20 million to about 42 million this year. We've exceeded that target this year. We just can't say exactly, but we've exceeded it. It's probably near about 45 million this summer. So we love telling governments why we're a good investment, and in our world, as we help industry, and whether you're an operator, whatever level you're in, we've always had to help create the economic business argument about why Aboriginal tourism, beyond the social and cultural values, why we're just good business. And so we often bring this out when we have to help governments realize that, there's this misconception that Aboriginal people don't pay taxes in Canada. It's not true. We do pay taxes. Our business community pays taxes. Unless you're on reserve, your employees they may get some benefits from that, but other than that, our business community pays as much taxes as the next business community. So we often talk about how that's been reinvested back into the economy, and you can see the growth in that over the 2009, 2012. Our businesses, and this has to be updated, so we've been doing a series of training programs. So in 2006, we had about 110 businesses involved in tourism, and Aboriginal tourism in the province. We were about 227 in 2010, and right now we're actually up to 285. Might be a small entrepreneur, could be a larger product being developed, so there's quite a few businesses out there. The industry today, just in terms of employment, we provide tons of employment as well. We've gone from 1,700 full and part-time staff to, in 2010, just about 2,200, or 2,300, pardon me, and we forecast a lot more growth shortly. I'm not going to go through too much of this. I'm sure you can take a look at this for yourself. You get enough stats thrown at you. Another way we help market our industries, we take part in a lot of consumer trade shows. So, for example, we attend Canada West Marketplace. Many of you, I'm sure, attend various trade shows in your own right. So we go there and help represent our market-ready businesses. So we try and align, as we saw the trade show component with this World Summit. We do the similar thing. Same with Rendezvous Canada, we attend. And our stakeholders find that extremely beneficial as we build our industry in British Columbia, because if they got to pay all on their own, it becomes very expensive for them. So who's the tourism consumer in BC? Well, right now, as I said earlier, the biggest growth we've seen is British Columbia. So we see about 51% of our customers in our world are as well British Columbians. Rest of Canada, primarily Alberta and Ontario, 21%. The States is the third largest. We have a very small number from Mexico, Asian Pacific, Europe, and other overseas, 0.6%. There's a quick graph on what are the total revenues, and you can see in the province, the different regions and how it breaks down, how many billions of dollars are spent on tourism throughout British Columbia. So our numbers are, this is the entire tourism sector, and it's 13.3 billion, and as I said earlier, it's about 14 billion right now. So more specifically, cultural tourism sector is estimated at 10% of the total tourism industry. So it works out to roughly about 1.3 billion each year spent on some form of cultural tourism, whether it's Aboriginal or other types of cultural tourism throughout the province. And right now, as I said earlier, we're about 42 million as of 2010. We estimate about 45 right now. And we know that consumer demand, along with strategic marketing, will support a sustainable Aboriginal cultural tourism industry with tremendous potential for growth. So here's some of the examples, are the areas we've got Aboriginal tourism businesses in. Various attractions, accommodations, outdoor adventures, food and beverage, festivals and events, some retail, transportation, artisans, and entertainers. And, you know, not all of the Aboriginal world we work in is involved with us. So this is the businesses that are involved, and you can see the growth from 2003 to 2010. And there's a couple small anomalies. You see the festival and events. That's just because not every one of those events uses us to help market, quite frankly. You see businesses by region. So we've got the 6 regions of British Columbia. You see the growth. Vancouver Coast and Mountains is the largest growth, and it's no secret because that's where a lot of the tourism revenues are spent. Businesses there went up from 40 to 90 between 2003 to 2010. You see Vancouver Island, Thompson, Okanagan, Northern BC, and so forth. That is a really hard map to see. But what I'm trying to do is just give you an example of, so as of last summer, this is where a number of market-ready businesses were located throughout the province. And the geography of our province is one of our biggest challenges. And of course, this presentation will be available after so you can have a better look at this. And these distances, especially when we get up into northern BC, flight infrastructure is no different and challenging for visitors going up there than anything else. So we've been creating a series of packages to help provide a visitor an entire 7-day experience where they can be routed through different parts of the province, and we can help shepherd, I guess, visitors throughout all of the province. This is a closer look at some of these locations, and you see our a number of our businesses on Vancouver Island, Lower Mainland area, all throughout the province. What were we doing to support the Aboriginal tourism industry going forward? Well, over the 2007-2011, we had investments, a $10 million investment over those years. That's what government, federally and provincially, they came with a $5 million from the feds, $5 million from the province, and they invested in marketing, product development, and training and awareness. And that allowed us to grow substantially over that time. What we know, we did finish a performance indicator report, and the conclusions were clear that a coordinated approach helps us grow effectively. No different than what you see in the non-Aboriginal tourism sector. It's a very similar type of business principles to how we grew our sector. So we've now put together a new 5-year plan called the Next Phase, and we understand the sector needs more market-ready products. And our plan was developed based on the evaluation of our programs and stakeholder consultation. So our plan calls for a new $10 million sector investment between 2012 to 2017 to support community capacity, product development, and marketing. So, for example, for training, if we want communities to take tourism businesses and run with them, you know, they can go to the local college, they can go to a lot of things they can do in British Columbia. We have a great post-secondary infrastructure. But what we believe is we have to Aboriginalize a lot of these training programs, and so we've done that. So we've got Trailblazer training. They go out, they train trainers in the community. We help people get in that sort of world host, first host, and help them understand what getting involved in tourism might look like. On the product development side, if they're entrepreneurs that are looking at starting a business, we walk them through a 2-week business development training program. So we're there when they start, what was their business plan, or do they have a business plan? And have they thought this all the way through? So we bring maybe a consultant in, we do things, and we walk them from beginning to end. So by the time they leave that 2-week program, they know where they might go get other capital funding, they might know where they might leverage other sort of industry expertise. They leave knowing that they've got a lot of support, and that we didn't just come and they go and they leave and they don't have any other support. Once they've got businesses up and running and they're quote market ready, which is a pretty standard term we often hear, or export ready, that's where we can put them specifically in our marketing programs. So we've identified how we would invest those dollars over the next 5 years to see the industry grow from roughly 45 million to we see growth to about 68 million by 2017. So what are the key 5-year strategies? Well, number one, like many, we find Aboriginal Indigenous parts of the globe, pushing for market readiness. If you want to compete in tourism, you have to understand how do you compete in that. And market readiness is a requirement. It's a pretty significant industry standard. We can't expect any different of what we're doing in a lot of ways. So the push for market readiness for us has probably been one of the most challenging issues we've got, because in British Columbia, because of the size of tourism, it's how do we elevate our voices enough so that the consumer can find us. And in BC, there's about 18,000 tourism businesses, of which we're 200 odd businesses. So how do we get out there and how do we help get our message up? And how do we make sure that when visitors do come, they have a good experience so they go and tell everyone what they have to do? So we continue, that's a big issue for us. Build and strengthen partnerships. So we don't do it in isolation. Leadership has mandated us. We continue to work our way through things. But we work with the DMOs. We work with all levels of government to help market what we can, and at times we can't share. For example, on one of the priorities for us is authenticity. So focus on authenticity and quality assurance. Our business community has made it clear to us in British Columbia that they're not going to work necessarily in isolation with a DMO, because they're not going to have a DMO marketing them as an authentic experience. Because we know we've actually created an authenticity standard of how that's supposed to look. So we walk businesses through a process and help them work with the communities. We're not the police of it, but we just help use it as a consumer educational advantage. And they're not going to just hand that off to anybody. Also focusing on key and emerging markets, focus on online marketing and regional approach to everything we do. Just a couple of highlights out of here. Business and product development training programs for pushing for market readiness, community capacity building training programs, frontline employment skills training programs. On the second priority, building and strengthening partnerships. So for example, strengthen existing partnerships with provincial and federal governments, expand partnerships with each of the regional destination marketing organizations we have in BC, which is a very large network of work, or very large investment in marketing through these 6 regional organizations, and a number of other things. Online marketing, well, I'm glad we've been going down that road. I showed you one of the vignettes. We've been really pushing, and we do a lot of work with our market-ready businesses around making sure that upgrading their existing websites and expand online advertising initiatives. We focus a lot on online advertising and on marketing and helping upgrade the stakeholder websites. So it's not just about AtBC. We really do a lot of work to help build their portals up and make sure that people can access and get accurate information. Focus on key and emerging markets, work in collaboration with the province of BC on international marketing programs. And we also, of course, work with CTC, attend consumer trade shows and media trade shows and events. We've developed niche marketing campaigns for experience such as culinary tourism is very high demand for us. And German language online marketing and print campaigns. So some of the other events we've attended is, I'm sure many of you know, ITB, that happens annually, but we've attended that event. Focus on authenticity and quality assurance, carrying on, increase the number of certified authentic Aboriginal tourism businesses. And like I said, we use that in a way of an internal quality assurance, an internal check and balance to make sure that before we put businesses on our marketing brochures and we really put them out there as world-class destinations, that we know internally that they're prepared to handle what might be coming at them. And have they thought of all the things to ensure they're market ready. Regional approach, just carrying on with that, develop 6 comprehensive regional Aboriginal cultural tourism strategies, promote packages along routes connecting multiple regions in the province, and develop other interregional initiatives. So we have the same we face the same challenges as many, I guess, DMOs face. Yes, you can do awareness, but how do we actually measure results on this? So overnight stays is one, but we also have an obligation to many of our other businesses within tourism. So we really are working towards how do we connect through packages and other regional marketing initiatives. Developing programs connecting BC's diverse coastal experiences, working collaboration with other DMOs and so forth. And one of the things on the video was the Klahowya Village in Stanley Park. That Klahowya is a term that means welcome. It's a Chinook jargon, it's a trading language. So we created a festival event right in Vancouver because we didn't have really a large-scale destination. So it's sort of a guerrilla marketing campaign. Like, can we get people that are coming through the gateway, can we get them in there, and can we make sure that they at least learn a little bit about Aboriginal tourism, which is really what we're trying to do, and it's in the Stanley Park area. And that's been probably, so for example, this summer it's open 60 days. We had 60,000 odd people walk through there in 60 days, and many of them knew nothing about Aboriginal tourism. And you can see the difference. Our website stats went up 100% over last year, which we believe that's one of the reasons it does. So it's continuing to build that awareness, and that's sort of, I guess, another way we're doing it. So we want to expand. There's sort of 3 key gateways in British Columbia. So Vancouver's one, Victoria's the other, and Kamloops for the tire traffic that comes in through the Alberta market. Just really quickly, I'm not going to go through Mark Readiness, you don't know all that, but some of the concluding points I will finish with here today. We introduced in 2011 new authentic tourism packages to bring tourists to all parts of British Columbia. So for example, we created the Totem Trail, the Monumental Art Trail, Salish Sea, Fraser River route. And if you go on our website, you can see it's listed their suggested itineraries. So you can actually decide, people can pick like a 3-day, a 4-day, a 1-day. And so we try to encourage people to take specific packages. And what we're doing now is actually on January 1st of this year, we'll have open the first ever, AtBC's created a subsidiary of our organization called Aboriginal Travel British Columbia. So we're going to make sure that the call to action on our website is you can see it, you like the package, you can book it here. And so that's become very important for us because, you know, we were doing a lot of awareness, like many marketing organizations, but the reality was, as doing these packages, putting all that work in, we were getting lots of calls, well, how do I book this? And so unless you have an agency that's picked it up and really worked with it, there was a real gap there. So we see taking that and doing something with it to meet the needs we see happening right now by January 1st. So where do we see ourselves being? So, well, we predicted around 42, 43 million by 2012 with a modest 3% growth. We are going to exceed that. We already know that. We've exceeded that this year, in fact. We're just finalizing the studies we were doing. But we know, I can say with confidence, we're over 43 million right now. So we're over, I guess, over-delivering in a lot of ways in terms of what our expected results are. We will continue to strengthen existing stakeholders and build capacity through support for authenticity programming. So we do that in a variety of ways. We actually bring our industry together fairly regularly. We have stakeholder forums. So we do that provincially, and then we do regional sort of work locally with as many operators as we can. We focus on results to demonstrate a relationship between community well-being, entrepreneurial capacity, and economic sustainability. So when I listen to the presentation by Anna and of course Ben, you know, what our leadership has said to the expectations of us as an association is that we know this tidal wave of activity is coming. We better manage how it hits us. So that's sort of why we're moving down this road, why we continue to market and why we continue to try and find ways how we're going to manage the visitor volumes. Because I can say, even it's the Klahowya Village, you know, we get one bus after another. Large operators show up, dump people off, they're there 45 minutes and they're out. And you know, we deal with it, we try and make it work, but I can tell you, it really, excuse my language, it really kind of pisses off our artisans that are there and everyone else because it's not a real experience. It's a necessity, I understand that, but it's not what we're really looking for. And in fact, we've actually told a couple operators, we don't want you back here unless you're gonna stay here long enough for people to get an experience. So we're having to try and figure out how we manage that. And it's a good problem to have, but it's a reality. Listening to what the presentation on conscious travel was, we are having to deal with that in places in BC right now. So we're having to make choices about how do we want to manage this marketplace? How do we really want to figure out how, because it's more than just the economics. We want to tell the story. We don't want people to come, take a couple pictures and run out of there. That's nice and it's good for, I guess, other marketing exposure, but it wasn't really the value set that us as an industry were trying to, our communities and the businesses we're trying to get to. So at least it's reassuring to know that we're not the only ones kind of thinking that way. Yeah. So there's a consumer demand, I just skip up ahead. There's a consumer demand for our Aboriginal cultural tourism products that are market ready, and we encourage our Aboriginal entrepreneurs and communities to better understand how the sector can drive economic and cultural opportunities. One of the challenges we've got in BC as well, we face major industry development. And if any, I know some Canadians in here, but others, British Columbia right now, we've got some of the most controversial projects being proposed through the backyards of many First Nation territories. And it is substantive issues. And so it's really kind of polarizing all the work we're trying to do about welcoming the world to our experiences. And then on the other hand, being seen in the public media as how do you manage, you're welcoming it, you're kicking these projects and you're fighting these projects and you got protests and you're facing almost in some areas civil disobedience to almost military style. So we have to deal with that, and we always have to figure out how do we help manage that message and how do we deal with visitors feeling welcome at the same time trying to promote our industry. So it's a very difficult time, and what we've been seeing, and we're trying to help industry and governments understand, is that just because you have a project going through someone's backyard and you give a little equity, getting a check, a residual check, doesn't mean you're building capacity of the community necessarily. In a lot of ways, people and communities have been bought out in so many different ways, but it's not helping them celebrate their culture, they're not helping teach their culture, and that's what we really see a big advantage of what we're doing in so many ways. So I don't want to get too political on that, but I can tell you, if you've been watching Canadian politics at all, there's pipelines being proposed that are yet to be, fully realized, and that's it's a concern of us as an industry because it gives the wrong perception, we hope not, to the international community, that we're not wanting to welcome everyone to the communities. We do. Just that there are things that are happening that we are trying to balance. So just some of the business case of what happened over the first investments and what we've seen in growth. So we actually realized tax revenues of approximately 30 million between 2007 and 2011. We had coverage of approximately 6.8 million in media value in the US and Canadian markets. We had lots of travel writers write story. The Olympics were fantastic for us. We ended up having 74 stories written in all over sort of some of the major newspapers. It was a wonderful contribution to our industry. We had approximately 400 new full-time and part-time jobs were created for Aboriginal people. And there's just so many other indicators. So I'll just end with this. I know I'm running close to time, and I was hoping if anyone had any questions, I didn't know if you want to wait till the end, Ben, but anyways, if you haven't been to our website, I'd encourage you to look at our website. We have all of our experiences, region by region, or different types of experience. You can look at the itineraries and the packaging that we've created. And that Our Story, Your Experience campaign, there's a number of vignettes there. And I would really encourage you to have a look at all of them. They tell a really, really good story. And it's so proud for me when I get into a room of my Aboriginal peers and you show these video clips and they hadn't viewed themselves in that way before, and it brings tears to their eyes, and it's very powerful, extremely powerful for what we do. So I'm just really humbled to be part of that. And if you want to get on our AtBC updates, we actually do a lot of corporate updates. You certainly can do that. I suspect not many of you want to necessarily get 10,000 emails from Keith Henry, but certainly you're welcome to join our subscription list if you want. And I say that only now because we're going to be putting out some important sector research for what we're seeing in British Columbia shortly about the 2012 season, and I think some of you might find that extremely interesting about how tourism, in the way we've been doing it at British Columbia, certainly builds a strong business case for, I believe, Aboriginal tourism throughout the world. So, thank you very much.